Have you heard of Parker Schnabel? If not, maybe you've watched Gold Rush, where a young guy is taking the world by storm with his mining skills and passion. But what got Parker to be one of the most famous gold miners in the world wasn't as easy as it seems. You might be wondering, how did a kid from such a small town become so successful? Was it possible for someone from such a humble beginning to even dream of achieving something this big? And if he did dream, how many struggles did he face on the way? Well, let's dive into those early moments of his life that became the starting point of his incredible journey. Parker's childhood was spent in a small town in Alaska, surrounded mostly by family and close friends. Everything was simple for him. Like many of us, he went to school, hung out with friends, and did what kids do. But Parker had one unique advantage: his grandfather owned a gold mine. This gave him a chance to learn the basics of mining from a very young age. He didn't have to go through long training or wait for his big break. His education was hands-on, learning from his grandfather who had been in the gold mining business for years. And this early exposure was the turning point in Parker's life, one that would eventually shape his destiny. People often think that making money from a gold mine is easy, but Parker had a front-row seat to the fact that running a mine wasn't as simple as it seemed. The risks, the financial pressures, and the work that went into it were far from easy. Mining isn't just about collecting gold, it's about managing risks, dealing with the weather, and keeping your team motivated and safe. These were lessons Parker learned early on, and he faced these challenges head-on. At such a young age, he was already managing significant responsibilities, which is impressive in itself. When Parker decided to take charge of his own gold mine, he quickly realized how much more there was to learn. Managing a mine was about more than just digging for gold, it was about managing people, time, and resources. To keep a mine running smoothly, everything had to be in sync, and mistakes could cost you a lot of money. So Parker learned the importance of discipline, leadership, and the value of teamwork. But here's where it gets interesting. He wasn't just learning about mining, he was also learning about running a business. Most people his age were focusing on school, but Parker was already thinking about building something much bigger. Then came the moment that changed everything. Parker was invited to be a part of the popular Discovery Channel show, Gold Rush. You might be wondering, how did a mining kid from Alaska end up on TV? Well, this opportunity was a huge step for Parker. It wasn't just about getting a TV appearance, it was about being put under the spotlight. The show made his life public, and people from around the world began to see the young, ambitious miner who was on the rise. But as easy as it may sound, this was a major test for him. Going on a reality show meant taking on new challenges, handling media pressure, and competing against other miners who had been in the game for years. Parker's breakthrough on Gold Rush gave him the platform to showcase his skills and determination, but it wasn't a walk in the park. While he was now getting recognition, it wasn't all glitz and glamour. The show wasn't just about making money or getting fame, it was about the grind, the struggle, and the emotional toll that came with it. Every season, Parker had to prove that he wasn't just a one-hit wonder. People were watching him, and he had to deliver results every time. As Parker's mining operation grew, so did his responsibilities. What might look like a simple task to outsiders was a massive challenge for him. He wasn't just a miner anymore, he was managing a team, making big decisions, and handling all the complexities that came with running a business. It wasn't just about finding gold anymore, it was about sustaining the operation. And here's where it gets even more fascinating. As he built his wealth, Parker also had to learn how to balance his family values and his growing business. With such an expanding empire, the lines between work and family began to blur. Could he keep his roots while building this gold mining empire? You might be asking, how did he manage all of this? The answer lies in his leadership skills. Parker had to learn how to balance everything: his passion for mining, the need for constant growth, and maintaining relationships with the people around him. His leadership was tested not only in how he managed his team, but also in how he managed his own expectations. And that's where the real turning point came. Parker learned that to succeed, you had to constantly push yourself, your team, and your limits. So what does this teach us about Parker's rise to fame and fortune? His success wasn't just about having the right skills to mine for gold, it was about making the right choices, learning from mistakes, and continuously improving. But here's the twist: while he was becoming rich, Parker didn't let fame get to his head. He stayed grounded, focused on his goals, and continued to respect the values instilled in him by his family. This is something a lot of people forget. No matter how much wealth you accumulate, your roots are what keep you strong. You may be wondering, what's the real story behind Parker's glamorous life today? It's not just about living in luxury or having fancy things. His life is a product of years of hard work, mistakes, and pushing through countless challenges. And even now, when he's enjoying the rewards of his success, Parker never forgets where he came from. He knows that behind the gold, there's a story of perseverance, hard work and belief in something bigger. This is just the beginning of Parker Schnabel's story. As we continue to explore his journey, you'll see how much more there is to learn from his experiences. So what's next for him? Will he settle down, or is there a bigger adventure waiting for Parker? The question remains, and it's one that will keep us curious for a long time. This is the humble beginning of Parker Schnabel's journey, filled with challenges, opportunities and lessons we can all take away. What do you think? Could you take the same path, or would you follow your own dreams? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, Parker's story is far from over. This was the first chapter of Parker's humble beginning. Stay tuned to discover more about his life's twists and turns. When Parker Schnabel's journey took a significant turn, it wasn't just about being a good miner anymore. It was about taking that leap into the unknown and seizing an opportunity that would change everything. You might be thinking, how did a young guy from Alaska go from working in a small family-owned gold mine to being on one of the biggest reality TV shows in the world? It's hard to imagine, right? But that's exactly what happened when Parker was introduced to Gold Rush. That moment wasn't just a step forward, it was the beginning of something huge. Let's dive into how he made it happen. Before joining the show, Parker was already involved in mining, learning everything he could from his grandfather. He had the skills, the experience, and the passion. But the world of gold mining is competitive, and the industry was tough. To make a name for himself, Parker needed more than just talent. He needed exposure, a bigger stage, and the right connections. That's when the opportunity with Gold Rush came in. It was a chance to show the world what he was made of, but it also came with challenges he had never faced before. You might be asking, how does a young guy like Parker get on a show like that? Was it easy? Of course not. The path to fame and success is rarely straightforward. And for Parker it was no different. The world of Gold Rush wasn't like anything Parker had experienced before. For starters, it was all about competition. There were other gold miners on the show, each with their own team and their own ideas of how to strike it rich. But Parker's story was different from the rest. He wasn't just trying to make money, he was trying to prove himself. The show brought a whole new level of pressure. Cameras followed him around, documenting every success and failure, every triumph and every setback. The world was watching, and Parker was now at the center of it all. This wasn't just about digging for gold, this was about making a name for himself on a global scale. So how did he handle the pressure? At first things were tough. Parker was young, and many people doubted his ability to lead a team and manage an entire mining operation. He was thrown into a world where every decision mattered. A single mistake could cost him everything. And while other miners had years of experience, Parker had something else: drive. He had an inner fire to prove that he wasn't just a kid playing in the dirt. He was there to make history. His first season on the show wasn't easy. In fact, it was filled with challenges that would have made many others quit. But Parker didn't back down. He fought through the struggles, worked long hours, and showed everyone around him that he was more than capable of handling the pressure. What was going on in his mind at that time? Was he ever thinking about giving up? It's easy to think that Parker was just another lucky guy who got a chance on TV. But his journey wasn't about luck, it was about taking every opportunity and turning it into something greater. You see, the reality of being on Gold Rush was not all glitz and glam. There were no shortcuts. Parker had to learn quickly, adapt to challenges, and keep his eyes on the prize. He was young, but he showed maturity beyond his years. Every mistake he made was a lesson, and every success was a step closer to proving himself. As the seasons went by, Parker's confidence grew. He learned the importance of managing his team, delegating tasks, and keeping everyone motivated, even when things weren't going well. People started to take notice. The world began to see the raw talent and determination that Parker had. But even as things started to improve, there was always the question hanging over him. Could he continue to succeed in such a competitive environment? Could he live up to the expectations? Despite the growing pressure, Parker didn't just survive on the show, he thrived. With every episode, he gained more fans, more attention, and more respect from his peers. But it wasn't easy. He had to make tough decisions, like cutting ties with certain people or changing the way he operated his team. Every move he made was scrutinized by the public, and he knew that failure wasn't an option. Parker had a vision, and he was willing to do whatever it took to make it a reality. The stakes were high, but so were the rewards. But did Parker ever doubt himself? Did he ever question if it was all worth it? One of the most fascinating parts of Parker's journey is how quickly he became a leader on the show. It wasn't just about gold anymore. It was about building a team, managing a business, and dealing with everything that came with it. At such a young age, he was already making big decisions and handling huge responsibilities. He was learning how to negotiate, how to handle business deals, and how to take risks. In a way, Gold Rush wasn't just teaching Parker how to mine for gold, it was teaching him how to be a businessman. And what he learned on the show helped him grow his own mining operation, making him even more successful. So what did he gain from all of this? Was it just fame, or was there something deeper at play?
Looking at Parker today,
It's hard to believe that he started as a young guy with little more than passion and a dream. His success on Gold Rush opened up doors that he could have never imagined before. But there's still that burning question: what drove Parker to push through every obstacle? What was it that made him keep going even when things got tough? The answer lies in his unrelenting determination to prove that age doesn't define ability. He wasn't there just to mine for gold, he was there to prove that anyone, no matter their age, could succeed if they had the right mindset. So as Parker's fame grew, so did his wealth. But fame came with its own challenges. The world was watching, and expectations were higher than ever. But Parker was ready. He had the tools, the experience, and the mindset to take on whatever came his way. And while his mining success was impressive, there was a bigger question looming over his career. How far could he really go? Could he sustain his success over the long term, or would the pressure eventually get to him? Parker's story on Gold Rush is a powerful reminder of how sometimes the right opportunity at the right time can change your life forever. But even then, success isn't guaranteed. It's about how you handle the challenges, the failures, and the pressure. Parker proved that with enough drive, passion, and resilience, you can rise above the doubts and make something great out of nothing. And as we follow his journey, the real question is, what comes next? What bigger challenges is Parker ready to face, and how will he continue to push the limits of what's possible? This story is far from over, and the world is watching to see what happens next. Parker's breakthrough on Gold Rush was just the beginning of an incredible story, one that's filled with determination, learning, and endless possibilities. Will he continue to rise, or will the pressure prove to be too much? Only time will tell. Parker Schnabel's journey was far from easy. While many people look at his success today and see someone who has it all: wealth, fame, and a luxurious lifestyle, they don't see the struggles and challenges he had to face to get there. It's easy to look at a successful person and think that everything just came to them, but that's far from the truth. If anything, Parker's story is one of persistence, resilience, and overcoming obstacles. How did he manage to handle the struggles along the way? What kept him going when things seemed impossible? Let's take a closer look at the challenges that Parker had to face and how he managed to turn them into successes. When Parker first started working on his own gold mine, things didn't go as smoothly as one might expect. He was young and there were people around him who doubted his abilities. Many questioned whether he could truly manage a gold mining operation. After all, he was only a teenager, and running a mine requires much more than just digging for gold. It involves managing people, keeping track of finances, making important business decisions, and dealing with countless risks. And while Parker had the passion and skills to succeed, the pressure was overwhelming. He was forced to grow up quickly and learn lessons the hard way. But what made him stick with it? Was it just the thrill of finding gold, or was there something more? The most significant challenge Parker faced was learning how to manage a team. In the beginning, he didn't have all the experience that came with running an operation of that size. He was a young guy and people didn't always take him seriously. He had to gain the trust of his crew and prove that he was capable of leading them. This wasn't an easy task, especially when things weren't going well. When the gold didn't come as easily as they hoped, the pressure on Parker increased. The stress of making sure everything ran smoothly weighed heavily on him. There were times when it seemed like nothing was working and the team was getting frustrated. But through it all, Parker learned one of the most important lessons of his life: perseverance. He never gave up, no matter how hard things got. Instead, he learned from his mistakes and found ways to improve. One of the most significant turning points in Parker's journey came when he had to make difficult decisions about his mining operation. It wasn't just about finding gold, it was about figuring out how to keep the business running. For example, when the gold wasn't coming in as expected, Parker had to make some tough choices about where to focus his resources. Should he invest more money in equipment? Should he hire more workers? Should he change the way the team was operating? Each decision had the potential to either make or break the entire operation. And every time he made a decision, there was the fear of failure looming over him. What if the gamble didn't pay off? What if they ended up losing everything? But instead of letting fear control him, Parker used it as motivation. Every challenge became an opportunity to prove himself, not just to his crew but also to the world. The more he struggled, the more determined he became to succeed. This was when his leadership skills truly began to shine. As his operation grew, Parker learned how to delegate tasks more effectively, how to motivate his team, and how to stay calm in the face of adversity. His ability to adapt to changing situations and overcome setbacks became one of his greatest strengths. But even as Parker was growing as a leader, there were still moments of doubt. As much as he tried to stay focused, the pressure to succeed was always there. He had his ups and downs, just like anyone else. There were days when nothing seemed to be going right, when the crew wasn't working together, and when the gold was just out of reach. There were times when Parker had to ask himself if it was worth it. Was all the stress and hardship truly worth the rewards? But each time he faced a setback, Parker came back stronger. He realized that success wasn't about having everything go perfectly. It was about handling the tough times and not giving up when things got hard. Despite the challenges, Parker's hard work eventually paid off. Slowly but surely, he began to see the fruits of his labor. His team became more cohesive, the operation became more efficient, and the gold started to come in. But even as he started to taste success, Parker never lost sight of the bigger picture. He knew that it wasn't enough to just find gold. To truly succeed, he had to build something that would last. And that meant thinking long-term. He began to invest in better equipment, hire more experienced workers, and expand his operation. He wasn't just focused on making money, he was focused on building a sustainable business that would continue to thrive for years to come. But here's the thing that most people don't understand about Parker's success: it wasn't just about the gold. Sure, gold is valuable, but what Parker gained from his experiences was far more valuable than any precious metal. He gained the skills to run a successful business. He gained the wisdom to make difficult decisions and the confidence to lead a team through the toughest of times. And most importantly, he gained the mental toughness to face whatever challenges came his way. In many ways, it was these skills that became his true treasure, not the gold itself. Today, when people look at Parker's wealth and his success, they see the glamorous lifestyle he lives. But they don't always see the long hours, the sleepless nights, and the constant stress he went through to get to where he is now. They don't see the countless times he faced failure and doubt, only to pick himself up and try again. Parker's story is a reminder that success isn't handed to you. It's something you have to earn through hard work, determination, and resilience. And even now, as Parker continues to build his empire, the question remains: what's next for him? As successful as he is, there will always be new challenges ahead. The world of mining is always changing, and Parker will need to adapt to stay ahead of the competition. Will he continue to lead his team through tough times, or will he face new obstacles that test his limits? Whatever happens, one thing is for sure: Parker will keep pushing forward, just like he always has. And that's what makes his story so inspiring. Parker's struggles and successes have shaped him into the person he is today. His journey shows us that no matter how many obstacles we face, we can overcome them if we keep pushing forward. His story is not just about gold, it's about the strength of the human spirit and the power of perseverance. What will the future hold for Parker? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: the world is watching, and we can all learn something from his journey. When we think of someone who has built a successful business empire, we often imagine years of struggle, many sacrifices, and a lot of time spent climbing the ladder of success. But what if a young guy from a small town in Alaska could build a mining empire at such a young age? You might be wondering, how did Parker Schnabel manage to grow from a young gold miner working with his grandfather to the leader of his own successful mining operation? It wasn't just luck or a smooth ride, it was the result of hard work, risk-taking, and a willingness to learn from every experience. What was the secret behind Parker's ability to turn a small mining operation into something much bigger? And how did he manage to overcome the hurdles along the way? Let's take a closer look at how Parker built his mining empire and what it took for him to get there. When Parker first started his gold mining career, he was working with his grandfather. It seemed like just a small family business, and many people probably didn't think much of it at first. But from the beginning, Parker was different. He had a fire in him, a drive to do something bigger than just running a small operation. He didn't just want to find gold, he wanted to build something sustainable. This mindset set him apart from many others in the mining world. While others might have been content with digging for gold and making a quick profit, Parker was thinking long-term. How could he make his operation more efficient? How could he improve the way things were done? How could he grow? Parker's desire to grow wasn't something that happened overnight. It was a process, and it started with learning how to manage and lead. When he was younger, he had to prove himself to his team. He wasn't just a kid anymore, he was the leader of the operation, and that meant making big decisions that affected everyone. But leading a team wasn't easy. At first, Parker struggled with earning the respect of his workers. After all, many of them had more experience than he did, and they weren't sure if a young guy like Parker could really run the show. But Parker wasn't deterred. He was determined to show that he could lead, and he did so by working hard, earning trust, and being a hands-on leader. He wasn't just giving orders from behind the scenes, he was right there in the trenches with his team, working as hard as anyone else. This earned him respect, and over time his team began to trust him. But leading a team wasn't the only challenge Parker faced. As his mining operation grew, so did the risks. The more money you put into a business, the more you have to worry about it. For Parker, this meant dealing with the financial pressures that come with running a bigger operation. There were always expenses to cover, equipment to maintain, and people to pay. The risk of failure was real, and every decision Parker made had consequences. But instead of shying away from the risks, Parker took them head-on. He learned how to manage his finances, make smart investments, and take calculated risks that would help his operation grow. But here's the thing, even though he was taking risks, Parker wasn't reckless. He was strategic, thinking about how every move he made would impact the future of his business. He knew that in order to grow, he had to be smart about where he put his resources. As Parker's operation expanded, he realized that one of the most important aspects of running a successful mining business was having the right equipment. At first, he used whatever he could get his hands on, often dealing with older or less reliable machines. But as his mining empire grew, so did his need for better equipment. Upgrading wasn't just a luxury, it was a necessity. To increase production and efficiency, Parker had to invest in better. This wasn't a small decision, it required a lot of thought, planning, and financial resources. But Parker knew that to stay competitive, he had to keep up with the latest advancements in mining technology. His willingness to invest in high-quality equipment paid off, allowing him to improve his operation and produce more gold with fewer problems. One of the key factors that contributed to Parker's growth was his ability to adapt to challenges. Mining isn't a business where you can expect everything to go according to plan. The weather can be unpredictable, the machines can break down, and there are always unexpected problems that arise. Parker had to learn how to adapt quickly. When things went wrong, he didn't panic. Instead, he looked for solutions. If one approach didn't work, he tried another. He learned that success in mining wasn't just about having the best machines or the most experienced workers. It was about being flexible and able to adapt to whatever the environment threw at him. As his mining empire grew, so did Parker's reputation. People began to take notice of the young man who was not only finding gold but also building a successful business. But with this increased attention came new challenges. As the operation expanded, so did the expectations. Parker was no longer just a kid working in his grandfather's mine. He was a businessman with a team, a brand, and a growing empire. The pressure to succeed became even greater. Now not only was he responsible for his team's well-being, but he was also responsible for the future of his business. Every decision mattered more than ever, and Parker had to stay focused and keep pushing forward. But the more Parker succeeded, the more he had to face the challenges of maintaining growth. It's one thing to start a business and build it from the ground up, it's another to keep it growing and expanding. For Parker, this meant constantly looking for new opportunities. He had to stay ahead of the competition, always thinking about how to improve his operation and grow his empire. He wasn't satisfied with just being good at mining, he wanted to be great, and to be great, he had to keep challenging himself and his team. The question many people ask is what drives someone like Parker to keep going? After all, he had already achieved so much at such a young age. He could have easily taken a step back, enjoyed his success, and lived a comfortable life. But Parker wasn't interested in slowing down, he wanted more. He wanted to build a legacy that would last, and that's exactly what he's doing. His drive and determination have allowed him to create a mining empire that has not only made him incredibly wealthy, but has also changed the face of the industry. He's proven that with hard work, dedication, and the right mindset, anyone can succeed, even someone who starts with very little. So what's next for Parker Schnabel? As his empire continues to grow, so will the challenges. Will he continue to lead his team through new obstacles, or will he face even bigger problems that test his limits? The world of mining is always changing, and Parker will have to stay on his toes to stay ahead. But one thing is for sure, with his ambition and drive, there's no telling how far he'll go. Building an empire isn't easy, and it's never guaranteed. But Parker has shown that with the right mindset and a willingness to take risks, it's possible to achieve greatness. His journey from a young miner working with his grandfather to the leader of a massive mining operation is a testament to what can be accomplished when you refuse to give up. And as we watch him continue to grow, we're left wondering what's the next step in Parker Schnabel's empire-building journey. Whatever it is, we know it's going to be something exciting. As we watch someone achieve great success, we often wonder what's next for them. What kind of legacy will they leave behind? This is a question that's especially intriguing when it comes to Parker Schnabel. We all know about his incredible success in the mining world, the gold he's discovered, and the empire he's built. But there's more to Parker than just gold and money. What kind of impact will he leave on the world, and how will he be remembered? Will he continue to grow his empire, or is there something bigger in mind? As Parker continues to succeed and expand, there's no denying that his story is becoming something much more than just a tale of wealth. It's about building a legacy, one that could inspire future generations and leave a mark on the world. But what exactly is this legacy? Let's dive into what Parker is building and how he's setting himself up for a future that's not just about gold but about lasting influence and impact. Parker Schnabel didn't get to where he is today by just focusing on making money. Sure, gold is a huge part of what he does, but his true drive goes beyond financial success. From a young age, Parker has been motivated by a sense of purpose and a desire to make a real difference. Whether it's in the way he runs his mining operations or in how he treats the people around him, Parker is clearly about more than just the gold. He's building something that can outlast his career, something that will carry his name long after he's gone. But what does that mean exactly? How does someone like Parker, who is still so young, start thinking about his legacy? And what kind of legacy is he really building? When we look at Parker's career, one thing becomes clear: he's focused on creating a business that can continue to grow and succeed even after he's no longer running it. That's a rare mindset, especially for someone so young. Most people in their 20s are still figuring out what they want to do with their lives, but Parker was thinking about the future right from the start. He wasn't just trying to make money in the short term, he was thinking long-term about how he could create something sustainable that would last for years to come. This forward-thinking approach is one of the main reasons why Parker has been so successful. He's not just a miner, he's a businessman, and a smart one at that. His ability to plan for the future even when things were tough is a key part of what's allowing him to build such a lasting legacy. Another key element of Parker's legacy is his ability to lead. Running a mining operation isn't easy, and it's even harder when you have a team of people looking to you for guidance. But Parker has proven time and again that he has what it takes to lead his team through some of the toughest situations imaginable. Whether it's dealing with breakdowns in equipment, unpredictable weather, or the stress of managing a large operation, Parker has shown that he can handle anything that comes his way. But it's not just about getting through the tough times, it's about leading his team in a way that inspires them to keep pushing forward. By setting an example of hard work, dedication, and perseverance, Parker has earned the respect of his crew. And that respect is something that will continue to carry him forward as he builds his legacy. Parker's leadership skills go beyond just managing his team, they extend to the mining community as a whole. Over the years, he has built a reputation as someone who knows what he's doing, someone who is reliable, and someone who is willing to take risks to achieve success. This reputation is incredibly valuable, not just for Parker's own success but for the success of others in the mining industry. People look up to Parker not just because of his wealth, but because of his integrity and work ethic. By setting high standards for himself and for his team, Parker is helping to raise the bar in the mining industry and set an example for others to follow. In a way, his legacy is also about changing the way people think about mining and business in general. He's showing the world that success doesn't come from cutting corners or taking shortcuts, it comes from hard work, smart decisions, and treating others with respect. Parker's focus on sustainability is another crucial part of the legacy he's building. Mining, especially gold mining, can have a negative impact on the environment. The process of extracting gold often involves using chemicals that can harm the land and the water around the mine. But Parker has always been conscious of the environmental impact of his work. From the beginning, he has made efforts to minimize the damage his operations cause. Whether it's by using more eco-friendly equipment or by finding better ways to handle waste, Parker has shown that it's possible to run a profitable mining operation without destroying the environment. In fact, he's proving that sustainable mining practices can be both good for the environment and good for business. By prioritizing sustainability, Parker is setting a new standard for the mining industry, and that's something that will have a lasting impact for years to come. One of the most interesting aspects of Parker's legacy is the fact that he's already thinking about how he can give back. Many successful people focus solely on their own wealth and success, but Parker has always had a sense of responsibility to help others. Whether it's through his work with his crew or his contributions to the mining community, Parker has shown that he's not just in it for himself. He's interested in making a difference in the lives of others and in leaving the world a better place than he found it. This sense of responsibility to others is what makes Parker's legacy so special. It's not just about the money or the fame, it's about using his success to create positive change and inspire others to do the same. As Parker's empire continues to grow, it's clear that his legacy is only going to become more significant. Every decision he makes now has the potential to shape the future, not just for his business, but for the entire mining industry. The more Parker succeeds, the more people will look to him as an example of what's possible when you work hard, stay focused, and never give up. His story is one of perseverance, leadership, and vision, a story that will inspire future generations of miners, business people, and entrepreneurs. And the best part, Parker is just getting started. The legacy he's building today is only the beginning of what he's capable of. As we watch him continue to grow and succeed, we can't help but wonder, what will Parker Schnabel's legacy look like in the years to come? Will he continue to push the boundaries of what's possible in the mining world? Will he expand his business even further? Will he continue to lead with integrity and inspire others to follow in his footsteps? Whatever the future holds for Parker, one thing is for certain, his legacy is already in the making, and it's going to be something that will last long after the gold runs out. It's a legacy that is built on more than just wealth, it's built on hard work, responsibility, and the desire to make a real difference in the world. Parker is showing us that success is about more than just achieving personal goals, it's about building something that will have a positive impact for generations to come. And that is the kind of legacy worth building. When we think of someone who has achieved great success, it's easy to imagine that we see them at the top of their game, with everything falling into place perfectly. But the reality is often quite different, especially for people like Parker Schnabel. Behind the scenes of his success and empire, there are countless challenges and obstacles that Parker has had to face and overcome. The question is, what exactly does Parker go through to keep his operations running smoothly, and how does he continue to succeed despite these difficulties? It's easy to admire someone's success, but when we look at the road they traveled to get there, it's often filled with hardships and struggles that we don't see. Parker's story is no exception. So what are some of the toughest challenges he faces? And how does he manage to rise above them every time? One of the most obvious challenges Parker faces is the physical and mental toll that mining takes on him and his team. Mining is hard, grueling work that requires long hours, intense focus, and often dangerous conditions. Whether it's working with heavy machinery, dealing with the unpredictable weather, or handling the physical labor of digging for gold, Parker and his team are constantly pushing their bodies to the limit. But this isn't just physically demanding, it's mentally exhausting too. The pressure to succeed is always there. Each day that goes by, they face the possibility of coming up empty-handed. The gold they find is never guaranteed, and there are always risks involved in the process. The stress of trying to make money while keeping everyone safe can take a huge toll on a person's mental well-being. Parker has to deal with all of this while staying focused on his ultimate goal. It's a delicate balance between managing the physical work and keeping his mind sharp enough to make smart decisions. Another challenge Parker faces is the financial risks that come with running a large-scale mining operation. The amount of money needed to fund his operations is enormous. From buying and maintaining expensive equipment to paying for labor and dealing with unexpected costs, Parker is constantly managing a delicate balance. At any given moment, things could go wrong. Equipment could break down, weather conditions could make mining impossible, or the gold they find could turn out to be less than expected. The risk of losing everything is always hanging over him. This financial pressure is something that most people don't fully understand. It's not just about finding gold, it's about making sure the business remains profitable in a highly unpredictable industry. Parker has to constantly be thinking ahead, making sure he's investing in the right areas and managing his resources wisely to keep the operation running smoothly. The weather is another huge challenge that Parker has to contend with. Mining in Alaska is not for the faint of heart. The weather is often harsh, unpredictable, and can change without warning. Whether it's freezing temperatures, heavy rain, or snowstorms, Parker and his team have to deal with the elements on a daily basis. These weather conditions can not only slow down the work but can also make it dangerous. Machines can break down in the cold, workers can suffer from exhaustion or injuries due to slippery conditions, and progress can be delayed for days or even weeks. Weather-related challenges are a constant reminder that no matter how well you plan, you can't control nature. For Parker, this means always being prepared for the unexpected and adapting to whatever conditions come his way. His ability to lead in these tough times is what keeps the team moving forward. Another obstacle that Parker faces is the need to constantly innovate and find new ways to improve his operations. Mining is an industry that doesn't stand still. If you want to succeed, you have to constantly find ways to work smarter, faster, and more efficiently. This means upgrading equipment, trying new techniques, and staying on top of industry trends. But making these changes isn't always easy. It requires significant investment, and there's always the risk that something won't work as planned. The pressure to keep improving can be overwhelming, especially when you're already dealing with so many other challenges. For Parker, this means always being open to new ideas and never being satisfied with the status quo. It's this drive for continuous improvement that has helped him grow his operation and stay ahead of the competition. Parker also has to deal with the challenges that come with leading a team. As his operation grew, so did the number of people he had to manage. Managing a team of workers is never easy, and when you add in the stress of a high-stakes business like mining, things can get complicated quickly. Parker has to deal with personalities, conflicts, and the occasional disagreement. There are times when team members don't see eye to eye, or when someone isn't performing up to expectations. As the leader, it's up to Parker to step in, resolve conflicts, and make sure the team is working together toward the same goal. This requires a lot of patience, communication, and problem-solving skills. Being the boss is never as easy as it seems, and for Parker, it's one of the most important aspects of his business. His leadership skills are tested every day, and it's his ability to handle these situations that keeps the team focused and moving forward. On top of all these challenges, Parker faces the pressure of living up to the expectations that come with being in the spotlight. As a popular figure on television, Parker is constantly under public scrutiny. People have high expectations of him, and there's always the pressure to succeed, not just for himself, but for his fans and followers. It's a lot to carry on his shoulders, especially considering how young he is. People look at Parker and see someone who's already achieved so much, but what they don't always see is the toll it takes on him behind the scenes. The pressure to keep up appearances, deliver results, and keep his business running smoothly can sometimes be overwhelming. But through it all, Parker has shown that he can handle the pressure, and he continues to push forward despite the challenges. There are also personal challenges that Parker faces, things that we don't often see on television. The time and energy required to run a large mining operation can take a toll on his personal life. He's often away from home for long stretches of time, working on the mine and making sure everything is running smoothly. This can be tough on relationships and can make it difficult for him to have a balanced personal life. But despite all of this, Parker has managed to find a way to make it work. His passion for mining and his drive to succeed are what keep him going, but it's clear that it's not without sacrifice. The challenges Parker faces are a big part of what makes his story so compelling. We often admire successful people from afar, thinking that they have it all together. But when we dig deeper into their journeys, we realize that they face many of the same struggles and obstacles that we all do. Parker Schnabel's story isn't just one of success, it's one of resilience, determination, and the ability to keep pushing forward despite the odds. Every challenge he faces is an opportunity for growth, and it's this mindset that has allowed him to achieve so much at such a young age. His story serves as a reminder that success doesn't come easy, but with hard work, perseverance, and the right mindset, it's possible to overcome even the toughest challenges. As Parker continues on his journey, we can't help but wonder, what will he face next, and how will he rise to the occasion?